So you want to pursue a career in screenwriting. Let me show you something. You see that? Look at it. That's ramen noodles. All right? If you want to drop everything and pursue a career in screenwriting, that's what you're going to be eating every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah, it's delicious, and it's 25 cents a pack. Look at this shit. 1,440 milligrams of sodium. This is all I've been eating for the whole year, and I gained 20 pounds because I'm fucking retaining water. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mikey's Discount Driving. I'm Mikey. This is episode 1. So I should probably take the time out to explain who I am and what this podcast is. I am a screenwriter. Obviously, the name of my channel is Mikey Writes Movies. I'm Mikey. I'm a very unsuccessful and very broke screenwriter. So, if you're trying to break into screenwriting, and you want to know what not to do, you can just look to me and you can learn from my failures. Um, I've written some things. You can check out some of the short films I've written. They're posted on the channel. I do have 2 independent feature films out. One is called The Suicide Theory that came out way the fuck back in 2015. I won some awards, Austin Film Festival, other film festivals. That lasted about a week in theaters. The Netflix thing, Amazon Prime, all that shit. 79% Rotten Tomatoes, so the reviews are pretty good. But the people who like the movie love the movie. Unfortunately, the tomato rating wasn't high enough for me to explode as a screenwriter. So, yeah. So here I am. I came out with another movie called Rage, which actually just came out about a month ago. And it's 67% Rotten Tomatoes, solid reviews. I'm very proud of both movies. If you want to check them out, you can rent them on Amazon Prime, iTunes, Apple TV, Vudu, anywhere where you can rent movies. Um, Again, I am very proud of those movies, but the thing about being a screenwriter, the low budget independent film screenwriter, is that those movies don't make any fucking money for anybody, which is why I'm eating ramen noodles. Um, so, what is this podcast about exactly? Well, I will be interviewing people. Um, Over the years, I've been able to network with and meet a lot of talented people, so this gives me an opportunity to chat with them and kind of ask them how they've reached the point of success that they've reached in their respective craft and their art. It's not just about screenwriting. I'm going to be talking to directors. Screenwriters are some of the most boring fucking people I've ever met. I know a lot of very cool ones, but I mean, but yeah, I'll be interviewing screenwriters, directors, actors, also like musicians, stand-up comics, anybody who creates art and shares it with the world. I do want to um, support like indie filmmakers and screenwriters. So each week I'm gonna do a script shout out to an unproduced spec script. I've read a lot of them over the past year, and a lot. There's a lot of them that I actually really like, and for some reason they haven't been picked up or optioned or sold. So yeah, I just want to shout out a spec script each week, and I also want to show trailers. Like, so if there's any independent filmmakers out there who want to promote like a upcoming project, and you guys got movie trailers or anything like that, I would love to post it here, and maybe we'll bring you on the show and we'll bullshit for a couple minutes. Um, what else? Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I like having conversations about screenwriting, but one thing I'm not gonna do is talk into a camera and tell you how to write a script. like I'm some kind of fucking guru or some kind of expert, because I'm not. There's plenty of other YouTube channels you can go to or with screenwriting experts and screenwriting instructors who can tell you how to write a script. I mean, if you have any questions about screenwriting, you know, you're more than welcome to ask them, and I'll answer them. You know, if I have time and you need me to check a couple pages of something that you've written, uh, you know, then shoot it over to me and I'll see if I have time and I'll give it a look. If I don't have time, I'm just going to tell you I don't have time. So it's not that I'm not willing to help out other screenwriters. It's just that I'm not doing this step-by-step, you know, tutorial on how to write scripts. It's just not what I do, and so I'm not going to do it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys like the podcast. Yeah, if you do like the podcast, subscribe, give the video a like. That helps this video and this podcast become more visible to other people who might like something like this. So thanks for your support, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, today's script shout out goes to a script I read last year. It's a feature-length script, a horror comedy called Bad Influence. I probably read close to about 70 spec scripts during the pandemic, and Bad Influence was probably my favorite. It's written by a very talented writer named Kevin Revy. I believe he has a couple of features produced. But the script is a horror comedy. It's about a 10-year-old social media influencer, very popular. She's kind of forced into it by her showbiz mom. They live in a mansion that they can't afford. And so for this YouTube channel that this little girl does, she, you know, unboxes toys and plays with them and reviews them. And what happens is one day she sent a doll that is possessed by a demon. And the demon ends up possessing her. And to try to gain more followers, the demon uses the girl as a way to get more followers. It's very clever. Plays on familiar horror tropes, you know, like the haunted doll, the possessed doll, the creepy little kid. But it's a very, very fun screenplay. One of the most entertaining screenplays I've read in a very long time. I have no idea why it didn't get picked up. It's fucking hilarious. I was laughing out loud during the whole thing. It's not exactly a low-budget script, but it's worth every penny of the budget that would be necessary to make this. So yeah, shout out to Kevin Revy's Bad Influence. And I actually found the script on a website called Simply Scripts, which is my favorite screenwriting website. It's totally free. It's a great place for producers, filmmakers, writers to network with each other and connect. It's also a great place for screenwriters of all levels to post their work and you know, get some feedback on it for free from some very talented writers. I do review short, low-budget scripts on the site that I think should get made. So if you want to check out my reviews, you can go to Simply Scripts, and it's right on the homepage. But I will post a link to Kevin's script, Bad Influence, in the description. So yeah, if you're a filmmaker especially, or if you're a screenwriter just looking to kill an hour and a half reading something fun, I highly recommend you check out the script.
Be careful. I don't want you to get hurt. You're fragile.
What are you looking for?
I just want to get to know you.
Okay.
Is that stupid?
It's not stupid, just unexpected.
I have a girlfriend, and I sometimes get on these apps to meet guys.
You should have told me.
You're gay. You're like actually gay.
Not exactly. It's sort of like a scale. I'm figuring it out.
Do you think it's dangerous to be figuring it out with somebody who already knows who they are?
I get it. Living out your cute little straight boy fantasy.
What about you? What are you looking for?
I guess if I really like having sex with someone, maybe I want to keep having sex with them. Maybe that'll turn into dating. Maybe a relationship.
Sounds like you're looking for everything.
You could say that.
Chasing the bottom line.
All right.
Ready? Ready for this shit?
I'm ready, man. As ready as I'll ever be.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He's a writer, a screenwriter, a director, a producer. He has his own production company called Abandoned House Productions that he runs with his wife. And he's an actor. I've worked with him. He's a fantastic actor. I've seen him work up close. You've seen him in movies like Cut, Shoot, Kill, My Bloody Banjo, Troma's Return to Nukem High, Volume 1 and 2, Arrows Point, and you can catch him in an upcoming web series called Here Comes Your Man. Comes out June 24th. Ladies and gentlemen, Clay von Carlowitz.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very, very generous introduction. Appreciate that. And I love
like an applause. Like
oh my God. Yeah. And it's so great to be back in front of a live audience, man. I've really missed kind of studio atmosphere. You got a really lively crowd tonight. Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah, look at the setup and the picture quality and the audio. It's fucking top level.
I love it, man.
Well, you just got back from LA, right? Or
yeah.
So you were filming that web series.
Yeah, it was a really quick turnaround. I went there early February, and a few days later I was shooting, and I got to experience what it's like to shoot in the middle of a pandemic. People wearing masks.
What are the airports like? How'd that go?
Well, I likened it to the Avengers Endgame post-snap. So it really felt like literally half the population had just disappeared off the face of the earth. So awesome. It was kind of roomy. Yeah, it was a lot more spacious than I had anticipated. And I mean, everyone was wearing a mask, and I mean, I kind of it was like eerily comfortable, and yeah, I don't know. It was kind of surreal though, because even the friends that I looked up when I was in LA, I tried to get in touch with, that they all kind of backed out of their plans to meet up with me, even if it was going to be outside at a coffee shop.
So LA's pretty much like just like New York right now a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, granted, the friends that I was in touch with, I mean, aren't representative of a lot of Angelenos, in that many people have just kind of thrown the rules out the window and gone out partying and stuff. But fortunately, I'm friends with people who take it seriously, and so I get it. It just kind of felt like a weird kind of a trip, but I had fun, and it was great. I had not been around a group of people in well over a year, so it was.
So that was the first time you shot anything, and like since the whole thing started.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I was in a Zoom play somewhere.
I remember.
In the middle of the pandemic, and
that was like that was the beginning. That was like mid-March, right?
Yeah, it was very it was like late spring. It was like right around now. Actually, I think I was getting started on it, but that was more of as part of the Zoom theater thing that has been going around. Which funny is because I got through my relationships with those people, I hooked up a buddy of mine, a playwright, with the gig. I talked him up to them, and now his play is going to be put up on Zoom through the same theater. So you know,
That's
getting his
pretty
big New York debut, albeit virtually. But yeah.
Well, like, how's the experience like doing a play on Zoom? Like, do you get as pumped up as you do when you're in front of an audience? So like that.
I mean, I do.
Oh, do you?
I do.
Yeah.
It wasn't okay. So it wasn't the same, of course, but I felt still connected with the actors. The thing was that there were variables with this, right? So a conceit that we all agreed upon was that we would have certain backgrounds for certain scenes, and to just fill the audience in, that the play is called Forger, and it's about this genius forger who made millions of dollars off of forging artists' works, namely, especially the works of Vermeer. And I played the guy's agent. And it's funny because there are a couple movies that just came out about this. Most recently, one with Guy Pearce. But I played the guy's agent, and it was great. It was great being part of something that was loosely based on history. But we had to have all these different backgrounds for the different scenes. Like there was the guy's art studio, there was a big museum, there was like a hotel. So we had to download these backgrounds, and every time we were on, we had to click on the background and then make sure that it was consistent across the board. The thing was, not all the cast members were as sharp about this. So unfortunately, there were moments where we'd be doing a scene, and this is live, and somebody in the cast forgot which background it was. And so we the three of us would have the same background, and the other person would have some other location. And so you would just kind of hoping the audience doesn't really notice or anything. But it was just it was funny because, you know, I had to do some costume changes, and so I would finish my scene, and sometimes my character would walk off, and so I would kind of be like, "See you later," and then I would come in, and then I would enter. I would try to enter like this, and then sometimes I would have to click my background on, so it looked like I was entering into the same space.
Yeah.
And other times I would have to click it on at the same time so that it looked like I was opening a door. And I was great at this, by the way. I managed to keep on top of all of that stuff.
Sounds like a lot.
It was a little bit. But I was really proud of my work. The only kind of mix up with me was in the middle of a climactic scene where the main character is on trial, and my character has basically done his last scene, in which he and the guy had a falling out, because I realized that he's now trying to just do forgeries for a bunch of other people, and he's kind of on drugs, and he's not the person that I knew way back when. So anyways, you know, it's a good scene. But anyway, I'm out of the narrative, and then the guy's on trial, and all these people are going on speaking about what he's done and how they were involved in his life. And then I accidentally click the mouse, and I just show up in the middle of the scene when I don't belong there. And so it's a really serious kind of moment where the judge is sort of laying into him, and then out of nowhere, I just pop in like.
Did you catch yourself?
Yeah, I caught myself. It was about 3 seconds, but I mean, in my mind, it felt like
Tyler Durden, like Fight Club.
Yeah, like the splicing in the big phallus. But yeah, I mean, it was fun. Last year, I had before the lockdown started, I had just finished doing a play at Shetler Studios in NYC, and it turned out to be one of the last things they ever put on there, because later Shetler just closed because they couldn't afford to keep open. A lot of their revenue came from people renting the spaces for auditions and different theatrical endeavors, but so they closed. But I was going to be in another play, and then it was like an Ibsen play, and then I remember we did one read through, and then I remember we were all looking at each other like, we had just heard about this virus, and then we were just kind of gauging how we felt. And then after the read through, the director said that we were going to maybe take a break for a couple weeks. And he said, well, one, there's this thing going around. We don't know. We just want to be safe. And then one of the actors is in another place. We want to give him time to finish up, but I'm sure we'll be back in 2 weeks. And then it wasn't more than a week later that he said, hey guys, we're pulling the plug. Sorry. Things don't look like they're going to change at all. So, I mean, I was really, really on a theater high at that point. So when that happened, I was just so frustrated. And so that kind of thing, that Zoom play, that was a gift. It came out of nowhere, and it was through the people I met doing that play. So I was just in the right place at the right time. And it's not that it was like furthering my film career, but I mean, if you're an actor, you like to act, and
well, yeah,
ideally
you gotta
have some
work on your craft. You're exercising your acting muscles pretty much. I know a lot of stand-up comics where we're just like blindsided by this whole thing. They actually just opened comedy clubs again.
I saw Jerry Seinfeld showed up on stage, right?
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. It was like something called Gotham NYC.
Gotham.
He wanted to be right, put his face out there just to say, hey guys, we're coming back, and just try to revive the whole scene a little bit, just to give people some kind of hope.
Yeah, it's been rough.
But,
they shut down Dangerfield's Comedy Club where I used to work. That place has been there for like 50 years. Comic Strip Live, that's like where Jerry Seinfeld, Eddie Murphy, all those guys were discovered. They put up the place for rent. So I have no idea what's going on with that place. And that's on the Upper East Side too. So yeah. So yeah, I guess it's the kind of thing with theaters. Kind of, I heard Upright Citizens Brigade shut down in New York, and pretty messed up.
It's been tough, man. And so the Zoom play thing really just took off for a lot of people, and I mean, it's not the same, but I mean, I kind of take my hat off to them just for trying to do something. And for stand-up comedians, I know, depending on what city you live in, that some people have taken to kind of drive-in comedy or an outdoor kind of setup.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, rooftops and Central Park.
Oh, Central Park, really?
Yeah, there was a couple shows over there.
Oh, cool.
I never went to any. I just pretty much just stayed in. I know you did the same thing I did. I pretty much took advantage of the time you had, and you wrote like 4 or 5 scripts during the thing. And I mean, I felt like you do it. You write to live. You do it like it's your job because it is your job. Because I need the money.
And but I mean, I like it though. You have a real discipline, and I like that. And for me, I mean, I was waiting for certain things were getting ready to take off, and then the pandemic kind of messed things up. So I just wanted to just start taking control of that whole creative thing again. And it's good. They've got things out there now, gaining traction that didn't exist before. So you try to do the lemonade thing as much as you can. And
I'm a little fucked up from this whole thing, because I'm like afraid to go back out into. It's like some people get thrown in prison. They do like 20 years, and they're like they don't know what to do when they get out. And some of them like rather stay in prison.
Oh yeah.
I kind of don't want to go.
Oh yeah.
But I gotta get back to normal, and I put on like 20 pounds during this whole thing. It's just it's 20 pounds that could go away if I just do regular stuff like regular people do, just walking around and
that's part of it. The city is your gym. It's sort of your gym, right?
It is. You don't even know. You just walk and you don't even notice. So yeah,
it's funny you say that about social social skills eroding, because the other day I was getting one dose of a vaccine, and some guy we were in the waiting room after we had gotten our dose, because we had to wait 15 minutes to make sure nothing went wrong, and then we go and make our second appointment and check out. And so I was just sitting in a chair, and all these other people are sitting 6 feet apart from me, and we're just waiting for our numbers to be called. And then the guy next to me sees that I have a sticker. It says, I got vaccinated. And he goes, oh, you got a sticker, man? I was like, yeah. I was like, where'd you get it? I was like, oh, the lady just gave it to me when I got a shot. He's like, oh, I didn't get that. And then, I tried to make a joke, but it was a very incomplete sentence. And I think the guy waited a second or two, and then he just decided to laugh as a courtesy and went like, yeah, right. Yeah. Right. I know what you mean. And I was thinking, this guy could have just given me a death stare, and I would have, I would totally would have understood. But well, I mean, little fumblings like
anyway,
that,
like I just can't do it anymore. I just can't. Oh, how you doing?
Yeah, I know. Like
I don't know. I got nothing for you, buddy.
You're telling me, man.
Every time I leave, I just put my headphones on and like pray to God nobody tries talking to me, because I'm just gonna fuck it up and look like an idiot.
It's just like I'm doing right now, man. I mean, I'm completely failing this interview. Like I can't even believe you haven't.
I'm failing as this is my first time talking to anybody outside of my family, pretty much, in a while. So let's talk about this web series. You didn't have to audition for this. This is from what I understand. Did you have to audition or?
Well, technically, yes. So a little bit of background. So I mentioned that I had some things that were getting ready to take off at the start of the pandemic, and then the pandemic changed everything. So one of those projects was this film that I was attached to, and it was a horror thriller, and I was set to, I was set to play a certain psychopathic character, and
oh man,
by all intents and purposes, it looked like it was going to happen in the spring of last year, something like that. But then things changed in the world, and certain people pulled out of certain agreements. So anyway, we all went and tried to do our own thing and find a new normal and create schedules and be disciplined about not only our creativity, but about how to put food on the table, how to pay rent, etc. So months go by, and then later in the year, I would say late October, early November, this filmmaker who was going to make this horror movie with me, he runs this idea by me, because I knew that he was going to do some kind of a show or a series. Okay. And
this is the same guy who was supposed to make the horror movie you were attached to, right? Okay.
Yeah. His name is Omar Salas Zamora. But so he even talked about this show when he did an episode of Chatting with Asta, my wife's Zoom.
Oh yeah, I was on that show. Yeah.
Yes, you were. one of her favorite guests, actually. People love that episode. Yeah, I know, right? It surprised me too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess you had a good day that day. But so we, so I vaguely knew about this show, but I wasn't thinking anything of it, because it was just this other thing he was doing, and I only cared about, there's this movie we want to make together. And so around the end of fall, or in the middle, towards Thanksgiving, he says that there's this character, that he was wondering if I'd be interested in reading for. And he's like, he's a little big, but I like him. I think he's a fun character. Let me know your thoughts. And so I was like, okay, sure, I'll check it out. And then I was thinking, I mean, I don't even know what the logistics of this would be, because I was not even thinking that far ahead, because okay, doing a show, but you're in LA. How do I even? It's the middle of a pandemic. So I read the script, and then I tell my thoughts, and it turns out the character, he's this likable guy, a bit of a bro character who's the main character's best friend, and he's his friend comes out and he tries his best to show support, but he's clearly not used to having a gay best friend. And so he tries to adapt to that new reality and what that means for him, being this guy's wingman or his buddy, goes out with him. And so it's a really, really fun journey. And I had avoided playing that kind of character for a while, because I just wanted to do stuff that, I don't know, it felt more, maybe lower key or nuanced or even darker, but this guy was way on the opposite end of the spectrum. But the guy is such a good writer that I felt like, okay, this guy, even if he's a little goofy, I feel like there's a bottom to him. There's a good through line. He feels like a real person.
Yeah,
And yeah, exactly. And so I agreed to do some kind of a Zoom with him and with the lead of the series, Calvin Pisu. And so I just read with him. I read some scenes, and then I didn't hear anything for a couple weeks. And so here's the thing. I thought that it was really mine to turn down. This is how naive I was. I was thinking, yeah, sure, I'll just read it, but then I didn't hear anything. And then I was thinking, oh, what's going on? I thought we would just talk about logistics, but it turns out that I was actually in audition, and he was thinking about if I would be right for the role, and he was auditioning other people. And so eventually he gets back to me and he says that he liked me as the character, and more importantly, the lead felt a kind of a chemistry with me. And so he formally offered it to me. And so I go, oh yeah, okay, great, sure. And so then we just start doing Zoom rehearsals, and then it becomes this thing where we're gonna shoot it in the middle of December. We're gonna shoot it early January. We're gonna shoot it mid-January. We're gonna shoot it late January. And it kept getting pushed back because,
I know how
as
that
you
goes,
remember, there was this surge. It was a surge, and then it kind of dwindled, and then there was another surge, and then it just kept surging, and then you just felt like, oh, this is the apocalypse. This is the worst ever. So it started to feel like I didn't even know if it was going to happen at a certain point, but then it was pushed back into the early to mid-February, and then it looked like there was a window where, oh, maybe that surge had started to die down, and maybe I could get out there. And so somehow we made it happen, and it was a great experience. Awesome. I mean, the guy, it's funny because I initially got to be friends with him because we were friends on Instagram, and then I found out about this project, this horror film, but I only started to get an idea that he's much more than just a guy who can write a really good dark horror thriller. I mean, he reminds me of Linklater and even what's this, Gus Van Sant. I mean, he's very talented, and he can dabble in different genres, and he's amazing at ensemble. So I just felt like, my gosh, I'm in the middle of this ensemble, and it's a very positive show. I mean, it's a comedy drama kind of thing, but I just felt like it was like the ideal environment for an actor. You're around other actors who are really good and care about their characters, and they want to be there, and they know they're lucky to be there. And all of them were posting stuff on Instagram saying how grateful they were. I know that not everyone's getting to, even the people I told who are way up ahead of me in the industry were like, wow, you actually went and worked in the middle of this. Wow. And I mean, I'm not doing anything right now. And so I knew that I was being treated to something. And so I do feel immensely grateful for that experience. And I made some really amazing friends, and I hope to work with these people again. But the best thing about it is the show is going to be out in June. It's going to be up on Amazon and iTunes and Google Play.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel a little spoiled. I'll be honest. I feel like okay. I got
that's
a
nice
little bit
turnaround, man. That's a shit, man.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I know.
Well, the series looks great. Like he's the writer and director, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. So I'll be marking that on my calendar, June 24th.
Yes. And I'll even entertain the idea of doing a live tweet, even if you're the only one who's actually paying attention to me live tweeting.
I'm in, bro. I'm in.
All right, cool.
So what else? Oh, I wanted to say this. The guy's name is Omar, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I noticed this. I think I've read like all your scripts that you've written during the pandemic. You tend to use real life like pretty closely, because I'm pretty sure there's a character named Omar who who gives you an audition via online. That's why I wanted to say something. I opened my mouth like I was about to talk. I was like, wait a minute.
I didn't think you could bring that up. I completely forgot about that. Oh my God.
I remember. I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on here?
That was the first script I wrote during lockdown, the thriller.
Yeah.
I think it was called Character Actor.
Yes, character actor.
But yeah. So you just put this together because, you were doing some research and you probably noticed a little bit of a.
No,
you're perceptive.
No, I just noticed right now. That's why when you said his name,
awesome.
I wanted to say something. I was like, wait a minute. But,
yeah. Seriously, man, I good for you that you remember that little detail, but guilty is charged. I do that sometimes. I try to, when I borrow from life, I try to mask things enough so that they don't look like they're direct copies of people or events. And certainly the circumstances around that character in that screenplay are slightly different from what they were in real life, but in other cases, yes, they were similar, and maybe in some cases, like the guy's name, it's exactly the same. And I dream of the day when that movie can get made and he sees it and he goes, that's me. And hey, I'm not even ruling out asking him to play himself. That might be a whole other kind of meta. So we'll see. But yeah, I sometimes I'm kind of shameless about borrowing.
You worked with the legendary Lloyd Kaufman,
yes,
who you're still very good friends with. And I noticed he kind of wrote. I was like, he kind of seems a lot like Lloyd. That I remember one script he wrote. It was like he's only in it for like a minute, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It was, but it's close enough where I was like, I know I'm very aware of your career, Clay. So just the relationship between that's I kind of put it together, but yeah. So I'm going off the top of the head, bro. I didn't put any notes together or anything. I'm just.
Oh no! I was waiting.
This is less of an interview, more of a. You remember I cast you in that short film, They Never Left, like almost 5 years ago. I think it was like 5 years ago. And I remember you're like, oh, let's go get a drink. And so this is pretty much, we're doing that right now. We're reliving that first time we minus the alcohol.
You should have let me know. I would have brought a drink. Do you have a drink on hand? I
actually stopped drinking.
Oh, wow. Good for you, man. Good for you.
Been about 2 days.
Back on the wagon.
I didn't stop drinking.
Hey man,
I can't afford any right now, so that's.
I'll send you a special delivery from Drizzly.
Oh, thanks. That'd be great.
They'll take care of it. Yeah.
So going to your origins, like you were like an athlete in like high school, right? You played sports, like football. I know. I played football.
Yeah, I played football. I played in middle school. I did the big three: football, basketball, and soccer, and eventually and baseball for a while. But I sucked at all of them, and eventually I was terrible. And eventually it dwindled down to just football. And it was only in high school when I really started to pay attention and decide that I wanted to try to be good. Because mostly I would just screw around on the sidelines and I wouldn't memorize the plays, and I would reenact scenes from Halloween movies with other players who sucked too and didn't. And so it was that whole ADD thing, and then I wasn't coordinated or anything. But in high school I started to try, and then I'm very proud of how I turned it around. I eventually was starting, and then by the time I got to my junior year, I got to start. I was on the starting team on our JV team, and then I got to start as an offensive lineman in one of the varsity games because my buddy had a concussion that week. And so that was an exciting moment for me. And then that team went to the playoffs, and then the next year I started the whole year, and we had the best record in our school's history.
You started on the O-line?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I know. I don't really look like an O-lineman, the traditional O-lineman. So a little background. We had a wing T offense, and I'm not saying that means. Yeah. So I was a guard, and so what I had to do in that offense often was do a lot of pulling, which means that you start with your 3-point stance, and then they snap the ball, and then you run around to one side or around to the other, and you're like a lead blocker. And like so there was a lot of
all we did was like the wing D formation.
Well, I mean, it worked for us, and I felt like it was a good kind of medium for me. And then I was looking at getting out of my small town, and I ended up finding this place called Kenyon College, and is in the middle of Ohio. So it's still in Ohio. I grew up in the Northeast, but it was a great liberal arts school, and I wanted to be there because I felt like it would be good for me because it had some great theater history. Allison Janney went there, Paul Newman went there, and it was a good writers' school. And I thought that playing football might help me. It might help my prospects. And so I talked to their coach. I went and I spoke with them about maybe playing for them, and they were D3, and so they knew that I wouldn't be a lineman for them, but they were saying maybe you could be a defensive linebacker or a Sam linebacker or something. So I did whatever I could to get into that school, and eventually I did get in, and I played for, that was my 10th and final year of playing football, and I completely ruined my knee that year. I had blown my knee out a few times during high school, but I had never had surgery on it. And then finally, it was just too bad, and it turned out that I had no more cartilage, and my bones are kind of rubbing together. Tendons were stretched out, gross stuff. Anyway, I had to have reconstructive surgery, and I decided maybe this is time for me to move on from this sport and just focus on acting and just take it in while I was there. And so
did you have any aspirations to play sports like professionally or anything like that? Or it kind of sounds like you were using sports to get into this college because they had a good theater.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of true. I didn't have aspirations to play professional sports, but I did grow up in an environment and in a family that very much valued sports. And so in a way it became something that helped me to work hard and be disciplined, and to also build up a sense of I'm trying to put this in a way that makes sense. What's that?
Structure? Is that?
Well, yes, structure, but also, I mean, I was a really weird kid, and I was very, very goofy, and I was kind of an outsider, and I don't know. I mean, I'm an actor. I was just, I liked to be a funny guy. I liked to be the goofball, and so football was this other side that eventually allowed me to cultivate something else that was more of a sense of, a sense of
sorry, I keep interrupting your
no. I mean, all those things are true, man. All those things are true, but it made me tough. In a sense. And so I eventually got to really enjoy the sport, and I had a good balance in high school, but I always wanted to be an actor. So it was never going to be the number one for me, but I look back fondly on it for many reasons. And I mean, I grew up in Ohio. It's a big deal there, and so there's a great sense of community around that whole thing. And all of my other siblings, they all played, and they all follow it. They follow the sport. I unfortunately haven't really kept up with it, so
See, I love, and I love my Philadelphia sports. But
Yes.
I grew up in a town kind of like the town you grew up in. I played football from like third grade to I was going to try out for high school, and I discovered marijuana.
Uh-huh.
I just
Yeah.
didn't have
Yeah.
like once it became apparent that it wasn't realistic as something that was going to happen for me, like going pro. Like I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? I really don't want to do it anymore. I just didn't. And I did it for some of the same reasons you did. There was some camaraderie there, but I kind of did it to fit in a little bit. I wanted to be a writer since I was like 12. You know what I mean? And I might have told you the story, but I remember there was a pep rally in like 7th grade or something like that. Nobody fucking knew me. They announced my name, Michael Costa, and I come out and I got booed out of the fucking gym. And
oh man.
Well, one of my friends like got people to boo because I think it sounded like more people were booing because there was no reaction. But you have the section over here, he was just being funny. And he's still one of my best friends today. But man, I was like, you know what? Fuck this shit, man. I was number 32. I had fucking Ricky Waters was out at the time. I was like, man, this is like a cool number. And yeah, I was like, after that, I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm not. I'm just gonna try this writing thing and see what happens. But,
so you ended up focusing on writing.
Like, when did you realize? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say you ended up focusing on writing in high school, and that sort of took
that's where my focus was. Unfortunately, I was one of those kids in high school who was like trying to find other ways to fit in, and writing was one of those ways. There were no all the nerds in our school. Then now nerds are cool, but like I was like the only movie guy. You know what I mean? There was nobody. Everyone else was getting good grades, and like I kind of like became friends with all the potheads and stuff, and that was my kind of little group.
Yeah.
But when did you realize that you wanted to be an actor?
I would say, oh man,
a moment. Was there like a moment where you're like, you know what? That's something I might be able to do.
Well, I'll say this. There were. I'll give you three moments. There was a time when I believe I was around 3 years old, 3 or 4, and I had already been raised on horror movies. My dad introduced me to some horror movies, and then
that explains it. That was going to be my next question, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it's tied with that, and then and to an extent, my mom, at least around Halloween, but my dad, it was more just whenever. But when I started to realize the power of fear and of creating suspense and drawing people into you, I thought, oh man, I can reflect that. I can reflect that in my own reality. And I mean, we all have stories about things in our own lives, which had to work through. And I mean, I had my own kind of stuff without getting into that. And I remember when it was time to choose my costume for Halloween, my mom thought I would be a great Dracula, and she kind of put together the costume for me, and she made part of it, and she gave me some old necklaces she had from her grandmother, and she put on my makeup, and I just fell in love with that character, and I loved what it did to me. It changed me. It made me feel like I had power over everything around me. And I knew that people were drawn to me just because of the makeup. But I realized that if I did something with the makeup, knowing that I have it on, if I make a face or just be still or put on a voice, it adds to the effect. And so I remember that sort of kindled that flame.
How long did you stay in character?
Oh, I mean, it's as long as possible, as long as I had the makeup on, I would only break it so that I could try to give people some relief, like just let my relatives know that I was still me, but then I was going to go back into it. And so I was Dracula probably three times at least when I was a kid, and so I always looked forward to Halloween. But then in grade school, I started to realize that a way to make friends was to be funny, and I found a way to learn how to just use my sense of comedy to kind of win people over. And so I was taking risks for a little while, and I that meant that I only had a few friends, and most people just decided that they didn't want to associate with me because I was too weird, even though sometimes on the side they'd be like, oh, you're cool, man. But then when the other people show up, they're like, oh, I'm not going to hang out with you if that's okay, because you're not official.
Yeah,
but
sounds familiar.
eventually, yeah. And then eventually, though, I started to just kind of come into my own, knowing that I had a sense for these, for that kind of thing. And at the same time, around junior high, I was very well known that I was obsessed with horror movies. And so I had this whole following of people who learned about horror movies through me. And then I made friends with some of those people who liked movies in general. And then we bonded over that stuff. And so I would frequently stage things from these movies I loved and cast characters. And there would just be running gags throughout school and sometimes even at parties. And they just loved it. And they loved the way that I put so much work into stuff that really didn't exist outside of the moment that it was done. And I had some friends who were really hardcore into scaring people and setting up pranks. And so I started to get a really good feel for that. And then I had no theater program in my grade school, so I was looking for outlets, and I would write and try to perform skits if that was allowed. And then eventually when I got to high school, and so that whole thing will count as the second thing.
Okay.
And then when I got to high school, I finally got the chance to audition for a play. So I had just done football, my first semester of high school, and I had a friend who was going to do wrestling, and he asked me if I would go out for the team with him, and I had never really given thought to that. So I thought, oh, sure, I don't know how good I'll be at wrestling or if I really want to give away my time, but I just went along with it. And so it was really hard, and I didn't know if I really wanted to devote that much time in my life to that. But around the same time, they were holding auditions for a play called Tune Into Murder. And it was sort of a comedy with a bit of a dark comedy, but I went in and I auditioned for the lead character, whose name was Clay, weirdly enough. And he was, it's like a murder. It was like a fun murder mystery. It wasn't too dissimilar from Clue, but I also auditioned for a character called Dr. Bledsoe, and he was described as a doer psychiatrist, and he's a guest on a radio show at the top of the play, and then he comes back later in the play when there's it's clear that there are murders going on, and then it was all around the idea of a radio show and the idea that it's being broadcast. And so I really just I loved the opportunity to read for this character, and I took it seriously, and I got it. I got the part, and I very shortly after told the wrestling coach, that I had got cast in a play, and I think that I was just going to devote my time to that, and he respected me. And for the rest of the time in high school, he would say hi to me in the hallways, and he would ask me how it was going, and he would say that he was going to see me in the next play, and he was happy for me, and he was excited for me. And I just ate it up, man. And I took it so seriously. And it was this character who was, he wasn't supposed to be that pivotal, but I loved the opportunity to play somebody who even remotely resembled the people I loved to watch growing up, like Donald Pleasance or Gregory Peck, people who had a really serious presence on screen. And so I stayed in character all the time while we were in the production, at least during rehearsals and stuff. And I kept to myself. And a lot of people in that show thought that I was this senior because of the way that I carried myself. It was like I was over it, or I was better than everybody. And it was a great way to channel my anxieties, because I, again, was in a situation where I didn't really fit in. And so I just dove into it. And then I eventually got a lot of respect from people because of how much I relished that role and took it seriously. And every show I got a standing ovation after I did a certain monologue. And it really fueled me, and it filled me up. And the thing is, I knew when I was young that I really wanted to act, but that thing that happened my freshman year, that was confirmation of that. Like, okay, this is official. I know that I'm good, and I know that I have something. So, and then began the road to figuring out, okay, how do I learn and grow as an actor, and how do I make it a career? And it's everyone's got a different experience with that, but
so
as long as
what is acting what brought you to New York?
Yeah, more or less. Wow, we're really getting into it. Yes.
I'm just asking questions.
No,
I'm not
I know.
Too Barbara Walters on you, am I?
No, it's fine. And if I'm too long-winded in my answers, you can feel free to edit this down. But I initially, after I graduated from college, I spent the summer writing and shooting a feature film, which was a semi-remake / sequel to a short film I had made my sophomore year of college called The House in the Woods. And so I decided initially I wanted to make a sequel to that, a sequel short film. But my senior year in college was so busy that I never had time. So the only time I found that I had was towards the end of the year. But everybody I wanted to help me was busy doing things with their friends who they would never see again, or and they were getting ready to leave, because we were going to graduate in a few weeks. So I got some people to help shoot B-roll, but it turned out that I realized that I could not make this film happen before the end of the year. So I decided that I would stay after I graduated. I would stay on campus, and I would just sleep on people's couches who were still there on campus for different summer things. And I would just beg, borrow, and steal and offer favors for people and try to coax them into being in my movie. So that became an obsession over that summer. And I had some siblings drove down from Northeast Ohio to stay and shoot stuff there. And I had some professors in it. And then eventually I went back up and stayed with my family, and I shot the rest of the movie there. And then it was such a crazy summer, man. The time that I should have been relaxing or just kind of just enjoying my last summer, I was just busy with this movie.
It sounds fucking awesome, though. Like, I kind of wish I didn't have that. I always wanted to do that. I remember my grandmother gave me a camera when I was like 13.
Yeah.
And I tried, I had my little group of friends. I was like, let's film this thing. I wrote a script and everything. And like, that shit's fucking stupid. They're too busy trying to get girls and trying to be adults. So it sounds like the best summer ever. But,
yeah. Well, it was in many ways, it was great. But it also caused a lot of tension, because I was using all of my siblings, or as many of them as I could, to act in the movie with me, and then in some cases to hold the camera, to be the DP when I wasn't on screen, or when I was on screen. And so they, I didn't have money, I couldn't pay them, and so I was trying to do this just on credit, the fact that I wanted to make a movie and they're my siblings, and I enjoyed playing with them my whole life. And I thought, and they helped me, but sometimes it was just it was taxing on them when they just wanted to do their own thing, but it became an obsession of mine, and so for better or worse, that consumed my summer. But so then in the middle of all that, I went out to LA with like $34, and I stayed on a friend's couch, and I helped him move from one apartment in Sherman Oaks to an apartment in Santa Monica. And I just tried to find work there. And because I just felt like I wanted to be in LA, because I wanted to be in the movies. I thought that would be the great place for me to start. But I didn't set myself up to really have a go at it the way I should have. So I didn't have money. I didn't have a car. And so I had to just stumble a lot to find my footing, and find ways to make money and stuff. And then took some acting classes, did a lot of extra work, and and then finished editing my movie on my friend's equipment. And then I just burned out because I realized I just, I didn't have the freedom I wanted to. And even though my roommate would let me borrow his car and stuff, I just thought, how long is it going to take for me to get a leg up here without being so stressed all the time? So I thought I would sublet my room and go back to Ohio for the summer and raise money and get a car and come back. So I did that. And then when I was home, I thought, I'm just going to take my time, man. I just need to just decompress because I've just been so stressed out for the past year.
You're going to burn yourself out like that, man.
Yeah. So I did that, and I took an extra few months. So I was there for what was going to be 3 months. It was more like 7. And it turns out a friend of mine from my college, Kenyon, was casting a play not too far away. And he asked me to audition, and I auditioned, and I got a role, a great part. And I found we had this old Cadillac in the driveway, and I paid to have it fixed. So I had a car, and I drove myself everywhere, and I just started to just kind of build myself up again. And then I thought about my direction as far as an actor and all of that, my trajectory. And I thought, well, I just want to be in a place where I feel I'm nurtured culturally. And I just felt like LA, at least for me to start, was too disconnected. And so I thought, oh, maybe New York, because I went to a school, or I went to a college that was more intellectual, theater centric. So I thought maybe I can find a vibe similar to that. And so I decided I wanted to try New York. And it turns out the same guy I was staying with in LA, he and his friends, both of whom had gone to college with me, they were a year ahead of me, had also left LA, and they were moving to New York City.
Oh,
and
sweet.
So, and then one of their friends from childhood was going to move in, and they needed one more person to fill the spot because it was going to be this big studio that had partitions. So they needed an extra roommate. And it turns out it was just complete serendipity. And they were like, you got a spot, Clay. That's yours. I mean, when can you be here? So I found that I had a nest for me there. And so I went, and I just kind of, I immediately felt like, okay, this feels better for me. I just was around a bunch of hipsters, and I felt like the kind of environment I wanted to have to be able to do creative work. And so, I mean, that this could be a whole other story now that we're in New York, but that's what happened. And so after just a few years of knocking around, trying to do, auditions, doing some short films here and there, I got cast in a B movie. And I met my wife, and suddenly my career started. My everything kind of fused together.
That's fucking wild, man. So let's say your buddies from LA moved, and they didn't need another roommate.
Yeah.
Your whole life could have been.
Oh man. Insane. Actually, it's funny that I never thought of that. I don't know. I feel like I would have tried to find somebody who was willing to, who was looking for somebody to sublet a room. I would have tried. I mean, I had some money saved, but this situation was cushy. It was already, the guy had already rigged up lights. He had decorated the place. He gave it, because studios, studios, they have nothing. So he built,
put up your own partitions and just one big room, and he did pretty much.
He did all of that, and then it was this clubhouse. And I mean, granted, my space, I could not stand up all the way in my partition, and I had to climb up on a ladder to get to mine, and it felt like I was living in a treehouse. But I was totally willing to sacrifice comfort for the excitement of getting some kind of a place to stay in New York, and then knowing that I could walk around the corner, and then it was just this kind of low key hipsterville.
Like a classic starving artist New York story, man. It's like,
oh yeah, totally. And the comforts of the, for better or worse, gentrification. I mean, I remember when we were driving, I'd never been to New York before, and So when I moved there, it was the first time I was seeing everything. And I remember looking around and seeing, as we were getting close to this neighborhood, I was seeing all these factories and thinking, where the hell are we going? Is this right? And I was thinking, there's no way I'm living here. This is weird. It's scary. And then finally we got to the main artery, and then suddenly it's like an oasis there. Oh, look at these bodegas. There's a couple dive bars. There's a bookstore, and there's some bright lights and some nice graffiti, and there's people walking around. And it feels like a mini college campus. And then I start to get it, and then I think, oh, okay, all right. So that's what this is about. But yeah,
it's a magical city, man. I wanted to move here, like mainly because of movies. I remember Taxi Driver, watching Woody Allen movies and Spike Lee movies. I was like, that's where I want to go. And I realized that, like, looking back, I didn't really need to move here to be a writer. I kind of use that as an excuse. But it really is a magical place. Like, I remember my first girlfriend I had in New York. We were driving over, I think it was the Queensboro Bridge or whatever. And, you know, I got the girl under my arm, and the lights and the reflecting off the water is like, I had this like warm feeling. I was like, God damn, I felt like I was at home for the first time. That's what New York felt like to me. So one of the first things I had produced as a writer was like, I worked at a restaurant, and like there was a bunch of theater people, and they're like, oh, why don't you write like so I submitted it, and they loved it. And I was so excited. It was like a play, but it was like a series of vignettes. So they were like sketches. There was nothing that was connecting them, which kind of, I was like, I like having an organization to it, but it wasn't my thing. I was like, all right. So I had a date, and I go to see it, and I was so disappointed when I saw it. I was like so pissed. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? They're like, they didn't really change it.
Oh,
like,
no.
Maybe it's the perfectionist in you. Like, have you ever had anything? You don't have to name any projects, but like, where instances where you worked really, you were super excited about something, and then you saw the final product, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah. That's happened to me before. I mean, I can rattle off a whole laundry list for you of stuff like that as an actor. How I was cast in something, and I go in and I do my thing, and then either it just never sees the light of day for no reason, or you realize that the people who are shooting it don't know exactly what they're doing. And so even though you have a sense that they're not getting it the way they should, and that they're missing things, and that maybe that they should record sound separately, or
I know exactly what you're talking about.
maybe if you're going to ask your actors to work for 12 hours straight, you should actually feed them. Maybe you should make sure a building has heat in it if it's the middle of winter. And then you see the final product, and you go, oh, well, I know that I did a great job. Worth it. I know. And you know, the thing is, it's frustrating when you know you did a good job, and it's not captured the right way. And you feel like, oh man, well, I hope that the next person gets it, because I mean, I know I did work on that. And so that's the struggle, is you have to know that you have something, and that it's worth pursuing, and it's worth nurturing, and finding ways to give it a better showcase, and ways to give it more of an outlet that respects you. And but yeah, I mean, and I've been writing stuff for myself and my friends to perform for a long time, ever since I would say early grade school. And I mean, there were times where it went off without a hitch, but then there are other times where I wish, oh man, you weren't as in it as I thought you might be. Like, you put your friends together, and you think, oh, and you're great, and you'll just be you, and you'll be you. But then when it's cameras on, or when they're on stage, they don't deliver the way that you thought they would. Yeah. And then you realize, oh, not everybody's an actor. Not everybody's is comfortable translating what their energy is in real life onto the screen or onto the stage.
Yeah.
And then you find that, oh, they have weird mannerisms, or they mumble, or they avert their eyes, or they do ironic takes on things, and they put on defense mechanisms. And then you start to get an idea, oh, okay, well, that's why you have to find people who do this and do it for a living, or they're comfortable. And so that takes a while for everything to align.
So that brings me to, we first met when I hired you for, I cast you for a short film I wrote that I also co-produced. It was a learning experience. I'm not going to bash anybody or anything, so don't worry about that. Yeah, you were the first person I cast. I really, because it was between me and like I had 2 other people part of my thing. We saw your audition tape, and I was like, I like this guy, and they're like, oh, let's see the other ones, and I really wanted you to get the part, so I was like, I pictured something. I was like, I emailed you. I was like, do the same thing but with glasses on, and you did,
Yeah.
and I was like, it's perfect. The guys were like, I was like, fuck you guys, man, this is my fucking shit. You guys are gonna put him in the fucking movie, and there's a lot of imperfections in the movie. Not everything went right. It was very guerrilla style. I'm not gonna bash anybody. I was super serious about this project, and I know you were too. I remember, because of those glasses. I remember you worked at a bar. What was the place called? The closed down.
Videology.
Yeah. I went there.
Yeah.
This was like, I'm not sure if it was probably like a month before shooting was supposed to begin. And you were wearing the fucking glasses. You were wearing the prop glasses I got. I was like, whoa, all right. I was like, ooh, cool.
Yeah.
But, I actually had people. I'm not gonna bullshit anybody. I'm not gonna bash anybody. I'm not gonna lie about that. I was super disappointed in the film. Sometimes it takes other people's opinions to sway you. Because I remember I posted it online, and I didn't think and for like 2 months it got like 50 views or something like that. And like a month or 2 later, I checked it. It was like at 15,000. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? And people fucking loved it. They're like, oh, there's some sound issues here and there, but the acting was really good, and the story was really good. So it just goes to show that, like, if you
have a few elements,
I know you put your heart into it. I put my heart into it. That shows, despite some of the flaws that accompany that. So
yeah.
Which brings me to we of course we want to do a feature version of the film, and we had, it's been a hell of a journey so far. I'm still very optimistic about it, and you and Asta are the perfect leads for the role. And I remember I wrote the script, like I wrote the feature like maybe a month after the short came out, and I had you in mind the whole time, of course. But I remember I was just kidding around. I was like, oh, maybe we did like a private reading at my friend Dave's apartment, and Asta read, and I was like, oh wow, you should be in it. I did, because she's been in some movies. I didn't think she would, But then I talked to you, like, she wants to. I was like, who would be perfect for the role? You're like, what about Asta? I was like, oh, did she wants to do it? And I was like, oh, fucking sweet. It's like even better. I don't want to have to look for another fucking person. So it worked out perfectly, and I'm still super optimistic about that. You are one of my favorite actors. And the highlight of that whole short we worked on, it was kind of fun. I remember we went from New York to New Jersey. We had that shitty location, and we showed up at like midnight, and the lady flipped out, and we had nowhere to go. So
that's right. We had to leave and go stay at your house until I don't know when. We weren't allowed to finish.
I called my mom. She's like, I'm on vacation right now, but your Nana's home. She'll let you in. I was like, Mom, I got like 12 motherfuckers with me. And she's, oh, it's totally fine. Just don't let your stepfather know. So hopefully he won't watch this. But that was like 5 years ago. But it was a really fun time, just like hanging out with everybody. And
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It was great. I mean, it was. I love indie film, man, and I love the whole kind of scrap-a-doo sort of all hands on deck kind of thing. And I mean, but you would agree that there are certain baselines that we all need to meet in order to feel like we're comfortable.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, we're not asking for an A-list kind of studio treatment. We realize, oh, there's certain things that you need in order to concentrate and deliver what you know your best. So, but I mean, these experiences are, in the long run, I think they're totally worth it, because they bond you with certain people. And I mean, I really loved your writing and the character, and I was excited to get a chance to do something. And I fought for getting the best out of the production that I knew we could do. And so I think it's awesome that it has taken on a life of its own on YouTube.
It's like about 40,000 views on YouTube now, and like 600 likes to 40 dislikes or something. So, you know, I think it helps that it's on YouTube and nobody can really, unless they're using headphones, they can't hear the shitty sound quality on it. But not calling anybody out, but I look at my YouTube channel, and like that's the only thing that has, I got like 260 subs, and they're all because of that short. I've had stuff posted on there since like 2016, so I got like 50 views. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, man. So what's in the pipeline? I know we got our shit. We're gonna fucking do it. I know we are. What else do you guys have? I know you and Asta have your own projects and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well,
I feel comfortable talking about it.
Yeah. I'll be careful how I answer that question, because we definitely have a couple projects that are being looked at by certain people, and you know, they're genre projects, and hopefully those elements will come together. I'm feeling very optimistic about that. One of those things is something I wrote, and so just keeping my fingers crossed about that stuff, and then also keeping my fingers crossed on getting another project I wrote, a drama made sometime this year. I like you mentioned, I wrote a bunch of stuff during quarantine, and the third thing I wrote, I just decided to try to find a way to write with the limitations in mind. So I wrote something that could be made mostly in an apartment with some additional locations, like a park or something. And so when that turned into a drama script, the first official kind of drama thing that I've written, and it's gaining traction, and I'm knock on wood that will happen. That'll happen sometime this year. But yeah, other than that, man, like you said, the streaming series is out in June, and I'm optimistic about that horror film that I was gonna make with that filmmaker Omar.
Bro, I want to see. I want to see some more content. That would be awesome to see it play the fucking psychopath.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's closest to who I really am. It's just this mask that I've gotten
like,
so good at.
I always thought you did have like an American Psycho kind of vibe a little bit.
Oh, well, thank you, man. Thank you. You really get
kind of
me.
look like Christian Bale a little bit.
That's very kind of you. And I know that you got. I'm not putting you on the spot, but I'm excited for you, because I know you got a bunch of stuff in the pipeline, and
like you said, there's a lot of knocking on wood, bro. Like, you've been in the business long enough. I've been in the business long enough. There's a lot of disappointments, but one thing I've learned is that you just gotta keep working, and you know, something's gonna land. You know what I mean? You got to keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
And I struggle with it more than anybody. Part of this podcast is me venting, like, and not in this interview, but you'll see the podcast. It's nothing terrible, but it's just me kind of making fun of how I am. You follow me on social media,
Yeah.
bro. You know how depressed I get. But
Yeah. No, but I like it. I like it.
Fun with it, and you know, kind of making fun of the disappointment that kind of comes with this kind of stuff. But once something lands or a few things land, it's so fucking worth it. It does kind of make the struggle, you know, it does kind of soften the blow a little bit on other things and kind of just move on. But I'm very optimistic with the projects and me and you got going. I'm optimistic about your projects, and you know, I'm kind of optimistic about some of the projects I got coming up.
Yeah, man. I mean, I also have to say that I would not be where I am today as a writer or a writer, director, filmmaker without your tutelage.
Come on.
You know, I had you being basically a mentor to me since I showed you my first script, and I little by little developed more of a confidence in my writing, and then started to learn how to write better. And then the fact that you continue to be open to reading my stuff and humoring my, you know, my new drafts, it helped me to have a gauge for what I was doing and whether or not it was working. And then from there, I've gotten confidence in just showing my stuff to other people who might have the potential to get that stuff made. And so you helped me to feel more legitimate as a writer.
Thanks,
and I know I'm a better writer because of you. So I appreciate it.
Wow. Everybody hear that? Here's the thing. I just don't want, like, if people, you know, if this gets views, I want people to hit me up. Will you read this?
Oh yeah, no. I mean,
Clay's a close friend of mine, so I know his work is solid. I know it's not going to take me 4 hours to read his shit. So, you know, I do choose who I read and who I choose to offer notes to. But
and I paid you your standard rate of $25,000 per draft. So,
bro,
you know, it's.
If I had $25,000 right now, I wouldn't be eating this shit.
Oh, the classic. Oh yeah, my God.
Classic New York staple. That and chopped cheese. Anyway, I know you're a busy man, Clay. I'm gonna let you go. This is the first podcast, so I thank you for doing this, man.
Thank you for having me. Are you kidding?
I felt like it went pretty well.
I do too, man. I mean, I don't know if it's because we know each other, but even if you didn't have a format written down, it did feel like there was some sort of structure to this discussion. So, you know, kudos.
Oh, thanks, bro. Everybody, Clayvon Carlowitz. All right, man, that's it.
All right.
All right, take care, bro.
Take care, everybody. Peace out.